Delay has a way of playing tricks on the mind. It whispers doubts, magnifies fears, and paints a picture that feels so real you begin to accept it as truth. You start telling yourself you're stuck, that nothing is moving, that somehow life has pressed pause on your story while the rest of the world keeps racing forward. But what feels like delay is often nothing more than perception and illusion created by impatience and expectation. You see, we have been conditioned to believe that progress must always be visible, that if something valuable is happening, there should be immediate evidence, immediate reward, immediate confirmation. We want signs, signals, proof that our efforts are working. And when those signs don't appear, frustration steps in. Doubt follows. Confidence begins to erode. But growth doesn't always announce itself with noise. Consider how many of life's most important developments occur quietly, without spectacle, without applause. Strength is built in private moments. Discipline is formed when no one is watching. Wisdom is shaped through experiences that feel slow, uncomfortable, even unfair. None of it looks dramatic from the outside. None of it feels exciting while you're living through it. Yet these invisible seasons are where the real transformation takes place. Delay is deceptive because it disguises movement. Imagine standing at the shore, watching a massive ship on the horizon. To your eyes, it appears still, almost frozen against the backdrop of the sky. But in reality, it is moving with tremendous force, cutting through the water at great speed. The distance distorts your perception. What seems motionless is anything but. Life works the same way. Here, just because you cannot see dramatic change does not mean nothing is happening. Just because the results haven't arrived does not mean progress has stopped. There are forces at work beyond your immediate awareness, shifts in perspective, growth and resilience, lessons embedding themselves into your character. These things cannot always be measured in real time, but they are no less real. The danger lies in misinterpreting the season. When people believe they are stuck, they begin to act stuck. Energy fades, effort weakens, vision shrinks. The illusion of delay becomes self-fulfilling because mindset shapes behavior. If you convince yourself that nothing is working, you may unknowingly withdraw the very persistence required to reach the breakthrough waiting ahead. Patience is not passive, it is active endurance. There is a powerful difference between waiting and quitting. Waiting is filled with preparation, awareness, and steady belief. Quitting is surrender disguised as logic, and too often individuals abandon their path not because they lacked ability, but because they misread the timing. Great journeys are rarely defined by speed. Some of the most extraordinary outcomes require extended periods of unseen development. Foundations must be strengthened. Weaknesses must be exposed. Perspective must mature. Without these processes, success would arrive too early, carrying weight you are not yet equipped to bear. Delay protects quality. If everything unfolded instantly, depth would disappear. Resilience would never form. Gratitude would weaken. The very attributes that allow you to sustain success are cultivated precisely in those moments when progress feels slow. So when you encounter delay, resist the urge to label it negatively. Do not rush to assume failure. Do not let temporary stillness convince you that your journey has lost momentum. What you perceive is not always what is real. What you feel is not always what is true. There is motion even in stillness. There is progress even in waiting. There is purpose even in pauses. And sometimes what appears as delay is simply life aligning the right conditions for something far greater than you originally imagined. Timing is not merely about when things happen. It is about when you are truly ready to receive and sustain them. Preparation is a word people often underestimate because it rarely feels glamorous. It does not attract applause. It does not produce instant recognition. It is quiet, demanding, sometimes exhausting work that unfolds far from the spotlight. Yet preparation is the hidden architecture behind every lasting elevation. Everyone wants to rise. Everyone wants to break through the opportunity, the moment when life shifts dramatically. But few truly consider the weight of what they are asking for. Elevation is not merely about receiving more, it is about carrying more. More responsibility, more pressure, more expectation, more challenges that test not just ability, but character. And life, in its wisdom, understands this better than we do. Before anything of significance expands in your world, something must expand within you. Perspective must deepen, discipline must strengthen, emotional stability must mature. Without these internal upgrades, external success becomes fragile, impressive in appearance, but unstable in reality. Think about constructing a towering building. The height captures attention, but the foundation determines survival. No engineer rushes the groundwork. No architect ignores structural integrity. Because the taller the structure, the deeper and stronger the base must be. Otherwise, collapse is not a possibility, it is an inevitability. Human ambition often forgets this principle. We see the visible rewards others possess and assume we are ready for the same outcomes. We imagine ourselves stepping into greater roles, greater influence, greater success. But readiness is not measured by desire alone. Readiness is measured by capacity, the ability to handle complexity, uncertainty, and pressure without losing balance. Preparation builds that capacity. What feels like delay is frequently life strengthening your foundation. It is where patience is stretched, where habits are refined, where weaknesses surface for correction. These seasons can feel uncomfortable precisely because growth is occurring. Comfort rarely produces transformation. Challenge does. Many people misinterpret these phases. They assume nothing is happening because nothing dramatic is visible. They grow restless, frustrated, doubtful. Yet preparation is inherently invisible. It operates beneath the surface, shaping instincts, sharpening judgment, fortifying resilience. It is training for a future you cannot yet fully see. Imagine receiving everything you desire without preparation. The opportunity arrives, but the pressure overwhelms you. The success appears, but insecurity destabilizes you. The responsibility expands, but discipline falters. Without preparation, the very blessings you seek could become sources of stress, anxiety, and eventual loss.
Timing protects sustainability.
Life is not withholding progress, it is ensuring durability. It is aligning not only circumstances, but also personal readiness, because true success is not measured by how quickly you rise, but by how well you remain standing once elevated. Preparation also reshapes identity. In the waiting seasons, you are not simply developing skill, you are becoming someone different, someone more focused, more grounded, more aware. Your reactions evolve, your mindset stabilizes, your understanding deepens. The person who emerges from preparation is often far more capable than the one who initially demanded immediate results. Growth changes you before it rewards you. There is a profound shift that occurs when you stop resisting preparation and start valuing it. Frustration transforms into awareness. Impatience gives way to intentional development. You begin to recognize that every challenge, every slowdown, every unexpected obstacle may be contributing to your strengthening rather than your stagnation. Preparation is not a detour, it is the path. Those who embrace this truth move differently. They use waiting seasons wisely. They refine habits, expand knowledge, strengthen discipline, cultivate emotional control. Instead of asking, why is this taking so long? They ask, what is this season building within me? There is something deeply human about wanting things to happen quickly. The mind equates speed with progress, immediacy with success. When desire meets delay, impatience begins to stir. You start feeling the urge to push harder, force outcomes, accelerate timelines. It feels logical, even necessary. After all, action is praised, persistence is admired, and waiting is often mistaken for weakness. But there is a subtle danger hidden in the rush. Forcing timing is like trying to open a flower with your hands. You may succeed in prying it apart, but you destroy the very beauty you hope to witness. Some processes are designed to unfold at a specific pace, not because life is indifferent, but because development requires sequence.
There are stages that cannot be skipped without consequence.
Rushing destiny often leads to fragile victories. When people push for results before they are fully prepared, they may achieve short term success, but long term stability becomes uncertain. Pressure reveals weaknesses that patience would have corrected. Responsibility. Pity exposes gaps that time would have filled. What appears as triumph can quietly evolve into stress, confusion, and regret. Speed can amplify unpreparedness. Consider how many individuals reach positions they once dreamed of only to feel overwhelmed once there. The role is larger than expected, the demands heavier, the scrutiny sharper. Without sufficient internal growth, success feels less like achievement and more like survival. Not because the opportunity was wrong, but because the timing was premature. Timing is not an obstacle, it is a safeguard. Life understands weight better than desire does. It recognizes that every expansion carries new challenges. Greater visibility invites greater criticism. Greater influence requires greater emotional control. Without the necessary foundation, rapid elevation can destabilize rather than empower. Impatience distorts judgment. When urgency takes over, clarity often diminishes. Decisions become reactive instead of reflective. You may accept paths misaligned with your deeper purpose simply to escape discomfort. You may pursue opportunities that satisfy immediate cravings while ignoring long-term consequences. The need to move forward quickly can blind you to whether you are moving in the right direction at all. Not every open door is meant to be rushed through. Sometimes restraint is wisdom. There is strength in allowing life to breathe, in trusting that what is meant to unfold will do so at the appropriate moment. This does not imply passivity or inaction. Effort remains essential. Growth remains necessary. But there is a difference between disciplined persistence and anxious forcing. One operates from confidence, the other from fear. Rushing is often fear in disguise. Fear of missing out, fear of being left behind, fear that waiting equals failure. Yet many of the most costly mistakes emerge from decisions made under the pressure of imagined scarcity. The belief that it must happen now can push individuals into circumstances they later realize they were never ready to handle. Patience preserves alignment. When you resist the impulse to force timing, you allow space for perspective to mature. You permit conditions to stabilize. You give yourself the opportunity to grow into the role rather than struggle within it. The delayed path often produces deeper confidence because readiness accompanies arrival. Sustainable success rarely comes from haste. There is also an unseen dimension to timing. Variables beyond your awareness are constantly shifting. People, circumstances, opportunities, connections. What seems like delay may simply be life arranging elements with precision you cannot yet perceive. Forcing outcomes may disrupt combinations that would have produced far greater results had you allowed them to develop naturally. Trust reduces unnecessary friction. When you accept that timing has intelligence, frustration begins to loosen its grip. The mind steadies. Decisions become more grounded. Energy once spent on anxiety can be redirected toward preparation, refinement, and strategic growth. Instead of fighting the pace of your journey, you begin working with it. This shift is powerful. Silence has a way of unsettling the human mind. When noise fades and visible movement slows, uncertainty begins to creep in. You start wondering whether something has gone wrong, whether progress has stalled, whether you've somehow been forgotten. The absence of obvious signs can feel heavy, almost personal, as though the quiet itself carries a message of denial. But silence does not mean absence. Silence is often misread because we equate activity with sound, progress with visible motion. We assume that if something meaningful is happening, there should be clear evidence, signals, confirmations, immediate feedback. Yet some of the most important processes in life unfold without announcement, without spectacle, without any outward display. Think about how much of existence operates quietly. The heart beats without applause. The mind forms thoughts without sound. The earth rotates without drawing attention to itself. There is constant movement, constant function, constant orchestration, yet none of it demands noise to validate its reality. Life's most critical mechanisms are silent, and so are many of its most transformative seasons. When you encounter periods where nothing appears to be happening, it is easy to assume stagnation. The mind searches for proof, and finding none begins crafting negative interpretations. Patience becomes strained. Confidence starts negotiating with fear. The quiet seasons often carry hidden work. Consider the stillness before dawn. To the impatient observer, night feels endless, unchanging, almost oppressive. Yet beneath that darkness, the world is preparing for light with perfect certainty. The transition is inevitable, though invisible. No announcement precedes the sunrise. It arrives precisely when the conditions are aligned. Silence can be preparation. It can be alignment. It can be movement beyond perception. Not all progress is meant to be seen in real time. Some developments require privacy, incubation, protection from premature interference. Just as a seed grows beneath the soil, unseen yet actively transforming, many aspects of personal growth occur away from external validation. Roots form in silence. Strength develops in silence. Clarity emerges in silence. The discomfort arises because silence tests trust. Without immediate reassurance, the mind wrestles with uncertainty. It demands evidence that everything is still on course. Yet the absence of visible signals does not equate to the absence of direction. It simply means that not all processes operate according to human expectations for constant feedback. Silence is not a verdict, it is a phase. In fact, noise can sometimes obscure growth. Constant stimulation, distraction, and reaction may prevent deeper reflection. Quiet seasons, though often unwelcome, create space to reassess priorities, refine perspective, strengthen internal stability. What feels like emptiness may actually be an invitation to deepen awareness. There is profound power in stillness. Moments without obvious movement allow you to develop patience, resilience, and self-understanding. They shift focus from external outcomes to internal evolution. Without the constant rush of visible progress, you are compelled to confront mindset, habits, fears, and assumptions, the very elements that shape long-term success. Silence refines perception. It teaches you to recognize that life's orchestration does not require constant display, that progress is not always loud, that development does not always announce itself. Some of the most decisive shifts occur quietly, accumulating strength before revealing impact. Impatience struggles with silence. Wisdom learns to respect it. When individuals panic during quiet seasons, they may abandon paths prematurely, misinterpreting temporary stillness as permanent failure. They mistake the absence of noise for the absence of purpose. Yet those who endure silence with steady confidence often discover that what seemed inactive was simply unfolding beyond immediate visibility. Movement does not cease because you cannot detect it. Alignment does not halt because you cannot measure it. Life does not forget because you do not receive instant confirmation. Silence can be deceptive, but it is rarely empty. So when you encounter quiet stretches in your journey, resist the urge to assume the worst. Do not let the lack of visible signals distort your understanding. Trusted unseen processes may be operating with precision you cannot yet perceive. Allow stillness to strengthen rather than unsettle you. Comparison is a quiet thief. It rarely announces itself as destructive. It slips into the mind disguised as observation, as harmless curiosity, as motivation even. You glance at someone else's progress, someone else's success, someone else's timing, and before you realize it, a subtle shift occurs within you. Gratitude weakens, confidence trembles, peace begins to erode. The danger of comparison lies not in noticing others, but in measuring yourself against them. Every life unfolds under a different set of circumstances, pressures, challenges, and unseen battles. Yet the mind has a habit of ignoring these variables. It reduces complex journeys into simple snapshots. You see the result, not the struggle, the arrival, not the preparation. The visible success, not the invisible cost. And from that incomplete picture, dissatisfaction grows. You begin asking questions that sound reasonable, but carry hidden harm. Why are they ahead? What am I doing wrong? Why is my progress slower? These thoughts feel like reflection, but they often plant seeds of discouragement. They imply that life operates on a universal schedule, that there exists a single correct pace for achievement, but there is no universal timeline. Comparison distorts reality because it assumes equality of conditions. It forgets that no two paths are identical. Some individuals start with advantages others never receive. Some endure hardships others never face. Some discover clarity early, while others require years of exploration and refinement. Timing without context is meaningless. Yet comparison thrives on context-free judgment. What makes this habit particularly damaging is its psychological effect. When you constantly that shift is costly because progress demands attention while comparison demands distraction. It is impossible to fully invest in your own development while obsessing over someone else's trajectory. The mind cannot simultaneously cultivate confidence and nurture envy. One must weaken for the other to survive, and often it is confidence that suffers first. Comparison also breeds impatience. When you believe others are advancing faster, your own timing begins to feel inadequate. The natural pace of your journey starts to feel like failure. You may rush decisions, force changes, or abandon valuable processes simply to escape the discomfort of perceived delay. But imitation of timing is as dangerous as imitation of identity. What is right for one path may be disastrous for another. There is also a deeper truth many overlook. Visible progress is not always accurate progress. Appearances can be misleading. What looks like success may carry unseen stress. What seems like rapid advancement may conceal instability. External images rarely reveal internal realities.
Comparison judges illusions.
And illusions are unreliable teachers. True growth requires internal reference points. It requires evaluating yourself against your past self, not someone else's present. Are you stronger than before? Wiser than before? More disciplined, more aware, more resilient than you were yesterday? These are measurements that empower rather than discourage.
Your only meaningful competition is your own potential.
When you detach from comparison, something remarkable happens. Mental clarity improves. Emotional stability strengthens. You begin recognizing that your journey does not need to resemble another's to be valid. That slower progress is not inferior progress. That different timing is not flawed timing. Individual paths demand individual pacing. Peace returns when you accept the is. Confidence deepens when you respect this. Character is not built when everything is easy. It does not emerge when life moves smoothly, when outcomes around every step. Character is forged in tension, in uncertainty, in those long stretches where patience is tested and expectations are challenged. And nowhere is this process more intense than in seasons of waiting. Waiting has a way of revealing what comfort conceals. When progress slows and results remain distant, you come face to face with yourself, your habits, your mindset, your emotional stability. All of it becomes impossible to ignore. The distractions fade, the noise quiets, and suddenly the real work begins, not around you, but within you. This is where resilience is shaped. Anyone can remain confident when success is immediate. Anyone can stay motivated when rewards are constant. But maintaining focus when evidence is scarce, when movement feels slow, when doubt whispers relentlessly, that requires an entirely different level of strength. That is a strength waiting seasons cultivate. Patience is not simply the ability to endure time. It is the ability to endure uncertainty without losing discipline. In these moments, life is not withholding progress. It is strengthening internal stability. It is teaching you how to remain grounded without constant validation, how to continue moving without immediate applause, how to sustain belief without visible guarantees. Because lasting success demands emotional endurance. Without it, pressure becomes overwhelming, obstacles feel insurmountable. Temporary setbacks trigger disproportionate reactions. Waiting seasons, though uncomfortable, develop the psychological stamina required to navigate complexity without collapse. Character grows through resistance, just as muscles strengthen against weight, patience strengthens. Against delay, each moment of uncertainty becomes an opportunity to reinforce composure, refine perspective, deepen self control. What feels like frustration is often training. What feels like stagnation is often internal expansion. Waiting exposes priorities. When outcomes are delayed, motives become clearer. Are you committed to growth or merely attached to results? Are you driven by purpose or dependent on external confirmation? These questions rarely surface during rapid success. They arise when movement slows, when reflection becomes unavoidable. This clarity is invaluable because unchecked ambition without grounded character leads to instability. Success amplifies who you are. It magnifies habits, insecurities, strengths, weaknesses. Without deliberate internal development, elevation can intensify flaws rather than fulfillment. Waiting corrects this imbalance. It invites you to refine discipline, to strengthen integrity, to cultivate emotional control. It teaches you to separate identity from immediate outcomes, to anchor confidence in values rather than circumstances. These lessons are subtle, often uncomfortable, yet profoundly transformative. Character cannot be rushed. There is no shortcut to patience, no instant path to resilience, no quick method for developing emotional steadiness. These qualities require time, repetition, experience. They are built through moments where quitting feels tempting, where doubt feels persuasive, where perseverance feels heavy. And yet, those who endure these phases emerge different, more grounded, more composed, more capable of handling pressure without panic, delay without despair, uncertainty without collapse. The waiting season becomes not a barrier, but a forge, a place where strength is shaped quietly, steadily, irreversibly. This is why some delays are necessary, not to obstruct progress, but to ensure R. Idleness, not to frustrate ambition, but to fortify capacity, because opportunities may open quickly, but sustaining them requires depth that only time and challenge can provide. Waiting transforms endurance into advantage. Those who resist it often remain trapped in cycles of impatience and discouragement. Those who embrace it develop stability that others struggle to maintain even after achieving their goals. So if you find yourself in a season that feels slow, resist the instinct to view it as wasted time. Recognize it as construction of mindset, discipline, emotional resilience. What you are becoming during these moments may prove far more valuable than the outcomes you are awaiting. And as you consider your own journey, reflect with honesty. Is this season holding you back, or is it quietly building the strength your future will demand?